notice how the Dark Monarch is surrounded by his own pieces and contained by our rook. Connect these dots and you can see that bishop d8 is checkmate. Now let's go and see exactly how Savielly Tartakover got himself into this pickle. e4, c6 is the Caro-Kann defense, d4, d5, knight c3, pawn takes pawn, knight takes pawn is the main line, knight f6. Queen d3 from Reti is not the book move, but knight takes knight, pawn takes knight is Tartakover's variation. I'm not sure when it became known as Tartakover's variation, but if he was already known for playing this line, perhaps Reti wanted to avoid it. Well, the rest of that line goes c3, bishop d6, bishop d3, castles, queen c2, rook e8 check, knight e2, pawn h5, castles, pawn h4, pawn h3, and knight d7. Not played in this game. Going back, instead, queen d3 from Richard Reti, pawn e5. That gets an inaccuracy from our annotator. The usual and best move is to trade knights on e4. But e5 it was from Tartakover. Pawn takes the pawn, and now queen a5 check, being marked as a mistake from the annotator. Best would have been to simply trade queens. Well, bishop d2 interposes against the check, hitting the queen again. Queen takes pawn on e5. Reti castles out of the line of fire, and now the blunder, knight takes knight. Even grandmasters can get caught in the rut of mechanical play, as seen by this very uncharacteristic blunder. Well, what's the real problem? It sets up the now famous Reti's checkmate. Queen d8 check, forcing king takes queen. It gets a double exclam from the annotator. King takes queen, and notice the piece relationship between the rook and the king. It's important to remember something, that double check can only be answered by a king move. You can't capture the bishop because that leaves the check from the rook, and you can't interpose against the rook because that leaves the check from the bishop. And so the only legal move is king to c7. And here you have the checkmate pattern that we started with in the puzzle. The king contained by his own pieces and by the white rook, which covers the d8 square. And when we connect the dots, we see bishop d8 is checkmate. Oh yeah.